What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can also text us, 865-658-5824. Flying solo as of the moment on this glorious February 17th. Hopefully you guys and gals getting ready for this work week. I know we got some snow on the ground down here, expecting about three to 4 more inches. I'm thinking somewhere around there. Nothing, of course, what Green Bay's been getting here lately, as Tim is probably shoveling snow at the moment. So hopefully everybody is doing great out there this morning. We got Chris in the house. Good to see you, buddy. We got Richard King, So Turtles, Prince. There you go, So Turtles. The man Clayton stays grinding, man. I tell you, it's tough this time of year, Turtles. Burnout is a real thing. And I know people are going to roll their eyes. You're talking football. It's so bad. It's not talking football that's bad. It's just you get to the point where you feel like, man, this thing's really dragging on. Now, everybody who kind of responds to us, emails, texts, man, you make the offseason go by so fast. And it does feel like it goes by fast at times, but you get these little pockets where it's like, man, I feel like I have done 13 shows and it's been 2 days, but there's nothing better than getting in here talking ball with all you guys and gals. Appreciate y'all. If you would hit that like button on your way in. First comment here, Jaire Lee says, hey, Clayton, I watched everyone we met with last night, stoked about the draft. I watched you and Tim, guys, Starks, T-Mac, I think he's talking about the Terrell McMillan there, Higgins, I love Trey Amos. His comp is Sauce Gardner and Mike Green. He's got the green heart emoji. All those guys, honestly, I would be okay with. I'm not sure who you're talking about with Starks right off the bat. I'd have to look at the draft board. But to Terrell McMillan, if somehow he fell to 23, sign me up, man. Run that card to the table, because I just don't see it happening with that size, his athleticism, obviously his hands. I think to Terrell McMillan, as many people are starting to refer to him as T-Mac, I'm going to stick to Terrell McMillan just to make sure that we don't get him mixed up with the Tracy McGrady or somebody like that, one of Tim's favorite basketball players of all time. So, Tim, what's up, Bob?
Morning.
My man made it. He made it. Obviously, we hit on Trey Amos pretty extensively. That's awesome that his comp was Sauce Gardner. I could kind of see that. Sauce Gardner, if I remember correctly, a little bit bigger corner, maybe 6'1", 6'2", something like that.
Yep.
Mike Green's one of those dudes that popped right off the bat to us, though. So, Jaire, I think I'm in agreement with everything there.
I think Starks he's talking about is Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Yeah, no, Malachi's one that – again, man, we've got him on the big board here in the 21 spot. And Tim, like we pointed out last night, man, he can play slot. And I know people go, we got Bullard for the slot. That's awesome and all. But I'm just tired of the whole, that's his spot. We can't get competition, man. I mean, when you look at what the Eagles did with their secondary, you look at what the Eagles do every damn year with their defensive line, create competition, and worst case scenario, Tim, you're absolutely loaded with depth,
Yeah, I mean, that may be why we saw, a guy like Oren Burks go over there and all of a sudden just be unlocked and play like an absolute monster.
Right.
Little competition, little depth, never hurt anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Drew D in the chat said, yesterday I ran into Mark Murphy and thanked him for bringing the draft to Green Bay. He said it wouldn't have happened without the Titletown district. And again, I remember, Tim, there was people pushing back on Titletown big time. And, we're kind of to the point now.
They were fans of the dilapidated Kmart or what?
Right. But we're also to the point now where you and I, we've kind of had this conversation. Where does it end? Where's the balance, right? Because as you continue to build and lots get bought up in that area, you're going to lose a little bit of that charm, like you were saying, right? Like with the neighborhood around it. The Kmart, listen, I was privileged enough to shop at that Kmart, and it was pretty – it meant something to me. My first trip to Green Bay, I went in there, bought a training camp shirt. I wasn't there for training camp, so I got it on Uncle Clarence, on the Uncle Clarence rack. It was from the previous training camp. But, yeah, nobody's missing that Kmart. Nobody's looking up like, boy, I sure wish that Kmart was still there over the Titletown district, So,
but you're right. There's a balance that I've always felt should be achieved over there. And, the more development you have, the less neighborhood charm you get. And part of that will always be there, especially on the, the south end, the Ashwaubenon side. You got a lot of that charm there. And then just north of Lombardi Avenue too, immediately in that neighborhood. But the expansion is real, and hey, that's a part of life, right? Things change. That's the one constant. And if in business, if you're not growing, you're dying. So you got to grow, you've got to develop, you've got to expand. But I think the Packers, should do what they can to kind of foster that neighborhood vibe that is so historic over there at Lambeau Field.
And I think the neighborhood is so deep, we don't have to truly worry about it. Like you've got that lot, I believe it's on the northwest corner of the stadium that's now going to be developed. Yeah. I personally don't have a problem with that because you see the neighborhood those houses, guys, the value in those homes that sit right on Lombardi and even 2 or 3 streets deep is skyrocketed right now. I think that will drop significantly after the draft because people were kind of positioning themselves. I was looking at a property, just probably a quarter mile, maybe not even that, from Lambeau, and it popped on the market. And before I could even put an offer in, it was off the market. So like people are buying that up, and I think they're using it to maximize Airbnb for the draft, and rightfully so. But I think after the draft leaves, that property value, I don't think it'll go down, but I think it'll stop rising at the level it is, and then we'll probably jump in there and snag a property. So, but yeah, on that corner, I think it would be cool to have a building there, and then like where the church, they've since torn the church down, right, Tim? That church across the street there from Lambeau, the one we talked about. You said that's an empty lot now, right?
Yeah, it's part of Packers parking now. I think they extended one of those lots.
So, like in the general vicinity, right, of the stadium, I think it would be cool to have like almost like a little mini city there, kind of like how Titletown is like this little village, right? But in terms of those houses, I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to get bought up. I think those people will hold strong, and rightfully so. So
that's true.
It keeps that charm that we talked about. And again, that neighborhood is so deep there too. I mean, you're talking about, just firsthand guessing, if you were to say how many houses deep directly from, running parallel with Lombardi Avenue, you're probably looking at 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 houses deep, something like that at least, right? Yep. As you get up there to the a little bit closer to the industrial area for sure.
And shout out to all the people that still actually live there, and they don't just Airbnb their property. A great deal of the homes they're basically just party houses now. So you're kind of starting to lose a little of that neighborhood charm, but there are a lot of people that do still actually live and work right there by Lambeau. So it's pretty awesome, man. One of the most unique things in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we'll probably end up on the north side of Lombardi there. We've looked all over. Got a couple spots. We're thinking about buying property. There's a couple of lots. Now, the lots are really overpriced, and, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
But to be able to go in there and just build a fresh house, would be kind of cool too. So set it up as a studio. That way we got kind of an HQ type thing right there in Green Bay. Holmes says, yeah, Clay, I tailgate where they tore down the church. It's a great spot. So like Tim was saying there, that's kind of become the spot there.
And I believe the church was, they have another location. So it's not like we got rid of a church to expand a parking lot.
They did not abolish it.
There's a new location. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, they're not anti-church. Okay, we don't want to send the wrong impression there. Number one Packer fan said, "Hey, I miss Kmart in general. Man, there was nothing better. Seeing parents sneak in a lung dart while your kids are shopping for off-brand tennis shoes, man, that was my childhood."
Well, they tell you to go outside and ride that piece of crap little toy horse in the front. Remember that thing?
We had a place, the Kmart we had back home was in this little mall where there was always more empty shops than there were businesses that were actually open. You had the Kmart, and then you go down the hall, and they had an Aladdin's Castle, and that was yeah, you remember Aladdin's Castle?
The arcades, oh yeah.
I think I've still got a couple of those tokens back home at my mom and dad's house. I kept a couple.
Love it.
Boy, you go in there, that was the spot. Mortal Kombat, let's go, man. Get on the sticks,
Yeah, Sub-Zero all day. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Drew D says,
Kmart, huh? Good old came apart. That's what my Uncle Mike used to call it. Came apart.
That's an accurate depiction right there. Anything you buy from there came apart. I promise you, man. Drew D says, hopefully Shadow Lane gets changed to LaFleur Way soon. We know what that means. That means if that happens, then LaFleur got him a Lombardi. So
that's right.
Hopefully that happens soon as well. Here's a dude, blast from the past. Here's a guy. I thought this was cool.
Here's a driver.
ML Football put this tweet out. I thought it was really neat. Most underrated wide receivers in NFL history. I'll start Donald Driver. Hey, no argument for me, man. I was blessed to see about 90% of Donald Driver's career. I think he came in the league in 99. He was a 7th-round pick, if I remember correctly. Begged to make the team, and they gave him a shot. And, boy, he did not disappoint. And my favorite story from Donald Driver, though, Tim, was I think he was on the Wildy and Tausch show, and it was around the time that Aaron Rodgers was up for that new contract extension when they gave him the 3-year extension. And they asked Donald, what was it like negotiating with the Packers? And he said, Ted Thompson had an open door policy. He said, when we got my deal done, when I made the decision I wanted, he said, I just walked up to his office, sat down, and we worked the deal out right there, me and him face to face. So Driver's just one of those dudes that it was always team first, hard worker, overachiever. I want to say, wasn't he the one? Am I thinking right, Tim? There was a couple of different players in Packers history that grew up homeless temporarily, but I want to say they lived in a U-Haul truck for a little bit. If I remember,
you got to read his book, man. We were like this close to not even knowing who Donald Driver was. I mean, he literally fought his way into the league, and struggled a lot coming out of school, and then during school, and then his early days in the NFL. It really it took a lot for him just to get here to play football, and just an amazing success story. And I agree, certainly one of the most underrated, underappreciated receivers in history. Became a really one of Brett's favorite targets for sure once he hit his stride, and then ultimately proved to kind of be a security blanket for a young Aaron Rodgers too. First couple of years of his career, getting to see Donald Driver out there. So yeah, man, definitely one of my favorites all time. Might have to add that jersey to the wall, Clayton. I would like a Donald Driver jersey.
Yeah, I've got a book that he wrote on like nutrition and kind of his approach, because that dude is just still, as he gets older, it seems like he gets in better shape. Now, obviously, looking at me, I haven't read the book. I've glanced through and looked at the pictures a time or two, but I need to dive into that book and kind of take the Donald Driver approach. He's got exercises and everything in there, just stuff that he does diet-wise, recipes, pretty cool. I'm kind of a nerd for that type of stuff. Jarrell Lee with the super chat. Thank you so much, sir. He says, if Jaire don't want to play, trade him for Max or Miles and sign his successor in the draft. Trey Amos, 6'1", 190, Sauce, 6'3", 190. So there you go. I didn't realize Sauce was that tall. I knew he was at least 6'1", or at least that's how I was remembering it. But yeah, in terms of that trading Jaire for Max, obviously that wouldn't be a player for player trade there. But I think he could sweeten the pot a little bit. And we've actually got an article that Rod Demosky wrote that I think it just dropped today. It might've been the same article that I pulled that quote from the other day. There's another section in there we'll hit on real quick. Matter of fact, why don't we do that? Why don't we slide up ahead here and let's hit it, and then we'll come back to some of the other stuff.
I'm going to go grab my coffee real quick. I'll be right back.
You do your thing, man. So this is what Rob put out earlier today, a link to his article. So if you guys want to go read that, go give it a like, all that good stuff. In the article, it said Alexander declined to speak with reporters on the last day of availability at the end of the season, saying he had, quote, nothing good to say, and that he did not know if he would be back with the team in 2025. So, you get a lot of ridicule when you talk about some of these negative topics, and you guys know where I stand. I want Ja back. I just want it on a contract, a restructure where it protects the team if he doesn't end up on the field. That's my only thing. I think Jaire's a great player. I think he has been a good teammate. I don't know of any teammates that don't like him, to be honest with you. It's just he obviously butted heads with the coaching staff there. I guess it was last year, the year before. So when it comes to this, that nothing good to say, that's what we were talking about. And when I first mentioned that, I had heard it from Rob on Wildy and Tausch. And I had mentioned it, and I don't know, where'd you hear that? Okay, I'll back off of this a little bit. Guys, we talk about 99% positive stuff on this podcast, and I like it that way. That's by design. That's not just smoke and mirrors. We don't want to sit back and harp on the negative and be miserable fans, especially in the off season. It's a long time, especially in the regular season. I say it all the time. Like, we wait all year long for the NFL season to start, and then as soon as it starts, there's a portion of the fan base that just want to be negative about every damn thing. I'm done. I've cut them off. Like, I'm not responding to the texts anymore. I'm not responding to the – if you're a fan that the only time I hear from you is when something bad is happening to the Packers, man, I just can't do it. I got to protect, as the kids say, my mentals, right? But I'm telling you right now, this is a real story, and we've got to cover it. We got to hit it. That whole nothing good to say really did kind of go, whoa, that's an interesting way to walk out of the locker room at the end, because that's the final impression you leave at the end of the year. It's not like Jaire's going to be doing interviews. It's not like Goody's going to openly talk about this every week. So that was kind of the stamp of, I'm pissed off. See you guys next year. Maybe. That's really what he did there. So, yeah, that's why I think it is possible that obviously he isn't back.
Might have been a better look if he just said, hey, no comment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the what was it last year, the year before, when he told the media, they asked him a question, and all he had to say was no comment, right? And walk away. But instead he said, I'm tired of talking to y'all and getting in trouble for it. Like, oh boy, why do we have to do that, John? You know what I mean? Like, but again, knowing my personality, that's probably how I would handle it too. So anyway.
It's true. I don't think I don't think the Browns or the Raiders are going to be chomping at the bit to trade for Jaire. I think Jaire would just be added bonus to any potential deal, right?
I would think so. And Drew says here, people don't understand when Jaire misses games, we save money. That's why we only paid Jaire $6.65 million in base salary last year. And that's where the guaranteed money comes in. That's why we always talk about you can sweeten the pot with a player with some guaranteed money. In that regard, and the suspension too. When he got suspended, he had to pay money back. I'm pretty sure he had to forfeit his check there as well. But I'm eager to see what happens with Ja in this situation. And here's the thing: like, you can free up money by cutting or trading him. Absolutely, you can do that. And if I'm understanding Drew, what he's saying is it's a little more palatable than people make it out to be, as if he's getting paid that full cap hit, which isn't the case.
Right.
But let's say that you did cut Ja and you freed up $6 million this year, right, Tim, where you traded him away. And let's just say the number is $6 million. They may do a post-June 1. They may go a different route. They may convert and adjust the contract before he's traded. He may play under his exact hit. We keep mentioning that. I'm still at 50-50. I haven't changed. I'm sure you haven't either, right, Tim?
No, I'm still there. Yeah, 50-50.
But let's say you free up $6 million, right? And then you go out and you sign, say, DJ Reed. Well, DJ Reed's DJ Reed is one of 3 corners that I'm interested in. And we'll talk about that here in a second if we have time. The short list of free agents that I'm really kind of, hey, man, if we can get the right deal on them, I would be okay with it. But if you cut John, free up $6 million of whatever his cap hit is, and I don't have it pulled up right now, and then you tack on $14.7 million average annual value for a DJ Reed, you're almost in the same ballpark of what you were paying Jaire. Now, what if you go that route and then DJ Reed gets hurt? You're in a worse situation, because DJ Reed isn't quite the player that Jaire is, and any player can get hurt. So that's why you got to be kind of careful with going out and getting a big name guy. And that's why I kind of like what Jarrell Lee was saying there, man. Go draft a dude. Maybe you can hit on that guy that's the next big thing, right? Jaire was a draft pick. Obviously, we hit on that. He played great football for many years. Hopefully, he's got a few more years left in him in Green Bay for the right price. But also, you drafted Eric Stokes. That's a swing and a miss. If you draft someone, that could be that at the 23rd pick as well. We got to take that into consideration. So there's no guarantees for sure. That's why I've always seemed to be kind of trade back, collect picks, take multiple swings, see if you can hit on your Jaden Reeds, you can hit on your Tucker Crafts, your Edgerrin Coopers. I mean, think of some of the best football players on the Green Bay Packers right now. They are not first-round picks. So why not get yourself multiple swings with a cheaper cap hit? It's just we fall in love with a handful of prospects, Tim, that might require us trading up or hoping on not one of the draft that they fall in our lap. And that's definitely the more enjoyable way to experience the draft, So
for sure.
All right, let's see here. What else we got in the chat? We got that one. Thank you again for the super chat, Jarrell. We appreciate you, man. Drew D says, I feel the pain in Tim's soul every time we talk about Jaire. LOL. It's true, man. It's true.
I want the old job back, man. Don't you guys miss this Jaire? Remember this guy?
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
No doubt, man.
Come on back, Ja. We still love you.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know of one teammate that doesn't like him. And when we hit that quote from Rob a couple of days ago, you'll remember it wasn't teammates said, it said multiple people within the organization or within the, I'm trying to think of how they worded it now. It was, it didn't say anything about teammates. It could have meant that, but I think what it meant was, maybe coaches, maybe front office personnel, that type of thing. So his teammates love him, they seem to. So, and I know he and Xavier McKinney at last training camp, Josh showed up to training camp, which that was a little frustrating, a couple years before him kind of skipping, not training camp, but skipping the OTAs and stuff. He showed up this year, and obviously he and X kind of hit it off. But, you guys remember too, early in the year, Jaire Alexander was the more vocal one in the locker room. It seemed like every post-game locker room speech was Ja. So, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they can make it work in return and everything. So Drew D says, if we trade Jaire and draft a cornerback, I don't want to hear the fans crying about the rookie is going through some growing pains. There you go.
Amen. Such a true statement right there.
Or even worse than that, Drew, the one I hate the most is them not even being able to get on the field, right? Yeah. That's the tough part for me, because I'm looking up going like Edgerrin Cooper. Let's be honest. Edgerrin Cooper's ass should have been on that field from day one. And it was, he doesn't quite know what he's doing yet. We got to ease him in. And I'm sitting back going, the quicker you put him in the fire, the quicker he's going to learn what it is he's doing. And you know what? The quicker you may realize, wow, this dude really can't handle this, and you taper back off. When I hear this whole, let's put a player out, if you put a player out there and it doesn't click and you pull them, that's going to hurt them. Hurt their entire shut up about confidence. You think
I don't think young players have any trouble with confidence.
Not today. But not only that, but think of the real world, Tim. Think of the person that's going out working the 9 to 5. I know we've got a bunch of truck drivers, right, that watch this show. Think of the truck drivers and the pressure that's on them to go out there and put in them long hours and make it happen. And they have a bad day. Man, my confidence is down. How am I going to go out here and do my job? Shut up. That's just so, I don't know, man. I guess it's just the society we live in today. I think of the greatest generation. And this is I guess this is just how I was raised. Think of those dudes storming Normandy, right? And everything that went with that. You're talking about kids that lied about their age so they could serve in World War II. And think of the mental toughness it took to do something like that. And then here we are in 2025 where we've got every single thing given to us. I'm as guilty as you. I'm so damn spoiled. It's not even funny. And to think of a player, his confidence is hurt. We need to give him a little bit of time. Shut up. That's just crazy to me.
I think with Coop, it was just the injury and him missing time during, camp and preseason. That's what kind of hurt him as far as finding the field sooner. But you're right. Yeah, it played a role, but I think there's also some logic to what you're saying too. It's like you don't want to handle them with kid gloves all the time. Just put them out there and let them play football. That's why you drafted them, right?
Right. And the people that will say, well, he's not ready. He wasn't ready. He's not ready. He wasn't ready. They don't go back and revisit that, right? When you see them on the field and they're an absolute stud and everybody's going, why the hell wasn't he on the field sooner? They don't go back and go, well, I was one of those people saying he wasn't ready. They just pretend like that didn't even get said.
Yeah, exactly.
It cracks me up. So Drew D says, how does a player have confidence on the bench? Ain't been, man. You can't have confidence on the bench. You can't.
That's true.
So here we go. Chuck in the chat. Trust me, as a truck driver, my bad days are caused by stupid drivers around me. I can only imagine, Chuck. I can only imagine. And listen, I run into truck drivers sometimes that I get aggravated with, and I always have to step back. I got a good friend named Larry here in town. He's I want to say he's in his 70s now. Just one of the best salt of earth dudes. We go by every Christmas and see him, he and his wife, Pat, just best human being on the planet. I try to step back and go, that might be Larry in that truck right there, and he's got a lot tougher job than me driving this pickup truck right now. So I try to back off and give a benefit of the doubt. But anyway, this ain't a trucking show. This is a Packer show. Let's move it along here. So next thing here, this was interesting. Easton Butler, just kind of tweeted this back out again. The Packers met with Indiana defensive line CJ West at the Shrine Bowl, just as kind of a reminder. He said reportedly spent, quote, a decent amount of time with the Packers while there. Obviously, we've mentioned CJ West a couple of times. He's got the cheese emoji on our big board. And CJ West, let me find him. I had him pulled up earlier here.
He keeps popping up in our mocks too.
Yes, he does. We got him in the 116 spot. So keep an eye on that. That's a guy that keeps getting mentioned. And every year this type of stuff happens. Katano Ladapo was one, right? That just kept getting mentioned. Next thing you know, bang. Emilio, go back.
Emilio checking in. He said, this is a trucking pod.
Yeah, go back to work, Emilio. or go back to sleep in the truck and pretend like you're working. We know what's really going on out there. Sometimes, he says, sometimes the trailers get squirrely. They do.
Emilio reporting live from the Taco Bell drive-thru.
in a smart car, one of those little small smart cars, acting like he knows what it's like to pull a trailer. Emilio, you're not fooling anybody, man. We know you're taking pictures of that dump trailer sitting in your neighbor's driveway. All right, we know what's going on there. So yeah, CJ West is one that to keep your eye on for sure. This next one, really, really cool. Really cool. Check this out. So Easton Butler said the Packers met with Arkansas State center Jacob Bayer at the Senior Bowl. And I immediately was like, where's he at on our board? Tim, I'll go search it. Guess what? He was not on the board. So I love this. It's like, okay, when you find a player that wasn't on the board that the Packers met with, let's take a look. I've just put the information in the tweet, the most important information. Check this out, man. 6'3", 310 pounds. Again, Arkansas State, a small school, but on our big board, after I worked him in today, Tim, he is in the 113 spot. He's ahead of CJ West by 2 spots. So we got another center added to the board here.
Wow.
So he's 113 on the PTA big board. In 2022, his PFF grade was 69.6. That was 59th best. You go, that ain't good. Well, in 2023, he jumped all the way to second highest amongst centers at 82.9. And then in 2024, he finished only 1 point lower than that and was 7th overall amongst centers. So when I see
him on PFF at all,
he's not on the big board, Tim. I had to comb through the premium stats to find his rankings. He's not even on the PFF big board. So when he lands in the 113 spot, he's on the consensus big board at 284 right now. Okay, he's at 284 right now. He's not on the PFF big board. But again, the PFF grades, what helps us here, 23, second highest graded center, 2024, the 7th highest graded center. That gives him a score as it sits right now of 88. Now, once he does make it to the PFF big board, we'll be able to add a little more to that, and it may drop on the board. But as it sits right now, man, he's hovering close to that top 100 pick. Matter of fact, if I were to just go through and look at a quick glance here, Tim, he is the highest graded interior offensive line that has a blue mark on our entire board. But that means, guys, and now Gray Zabel we've got listed as a tackle because there's more value there, but many people are calling him a center as well. So keep that in mind. Gray Zabel is in the 52 spot. But again, the second highest graded and true center, the highest graded true center on our board right now is our boy here, Jacob Bayer. As he, like I said, I think he came in at, what was it, the 113? Yeah, 113 spot. So, Tim, this might be the dude. This might end up being the guy, man. Now, we'll see where he's drafted at. Again, we've got him hovering between the 3rd and 4th round. Everyone else has got him like, a late round pick. If you got to kind of put things into proper perspective, too. If he does go that late, let's say he does go in the 6th or 7th round, I think it was Jacob Monk we took in the 5th round. And Jacob Monk couldn't sniff a snap. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe another dude if you go this route. I think if they draft him, it says 2 things. It says they think higher of him than they do Jacob Monk currently. Because if you just take a swing on a guy who's equal or lesser value than what you see Jacob Monk after 1 full season in the NFL practicing and getting a look at him every day, kind of a different look there, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. I can see the Packers taking a shot at him at Bayer here because, I like Gray Zabel a lot, but Gray Zabel is going to probably be a 1st round pick, 1st or 2nd round pick. And right. I don't know if the Packers are going to be that aggressive early, but I mean, we talked about trenches. That's offense and defensive line. So we could end up taking a guy like Gray Zabel, but I don't think so. I think we might like that mid to late round value in a guy like this, our Kansas State will take it. Someone you can put out there. Looks like he's got the locks. He's got the hair hanging out of the back of the helmet there a little bit. Probably fits in with Sean Ryan and the boys on the O-line pretty well. So you never know, man. And I think it's fair about, we could say the same thing about Jordan Morgan. Our first round pick, we didn't see a lot of him last year due to injury and, maybe not being ready. So I think it's fair that we got to give these rookies from last year a chance in year 2 with, a full season under their belt and then, another camp going into a fresh season. But I'm not opposed to taking a swing at a guy like this because center is definitely a huge position of need for sure.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Gray Zabel that's interesting, though, is he does give you that option to play. He could be a backup tackle for you in a pinch or something with his experience as opposed to, a pure center who's probably just going to be able to play center,
Yeah, exactly. Extra value there. There's no doubt about it. Jarrell Lee with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I love Jaire. Watched him drafted. When healthy, no one is better than him but Sauce and Surtain. And he says, DJ Reed, Ward, hopefully we draft this year's Quinyon Mitchell. Man, this year's Quinyon Mitchell, if you were to look at the board here and just kind of guess, Travis Hunter, hands down, is the best corner in the draft. And they said he's going to go to the combine as a corner, so I imagine that's going to be his main focal point. That's the only one that I would say that could be this year's Quinyon Mitchell. Now I'm not saying they're built the same. I'm not saying they have the similar play style. I'm simply saying from a grade standpoint, like if we were to compare apples to apples, Travis Hunter, if he competes with everything at the combine, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to finish with a 9 RAS, which means he will go into the negatives, on the score on our board. Now, with Quinyon Mitchell, he was our top corner, but his grade, Tim, was an 8.8. So keep in mind that. If you were to look, all right, who's in that range here? 8.8, you got to go down a full tier to the 15 mark, or actually 17.3 is the closest corner in Will Johnson, outside corner of Michigan. Now, if he gets the full bonus, he'll jump up to the 12 spot. So he's still one tier lower where Quinyon was, but Travis Hunter is one tier higher than Quinyon was. So appreciate the super chat there, Jarrell. It's going to be interesting to see how cornerback plays out here, man.
Trey Amos. Don't sleep on Trey Amos.
Yeah. Like I said, man, got that big frame for sure. All right, here was the tweet I put together earlier this morning. I was just doing a little research in here, prepping for the show. And, when we talk about Drew Dalman, the big knock has been his pass blocking, right, Tim? Everybody's like, well, yeah, he's not a great pass blocker. He's he's a mauler, he's a run blocker. All those things seem to be true based off what I've seen and with the analytics. So I said, when you mention free agent center Drew Dalman as a potential Josh Myers replacement, it's almost always said that he isn't a good pass blocker. Well, here were the pressure percentages allowed last year. Drew Dalman only allowed 3% pressure rate and pass blocking down. So I took the pressures allowed, divided it by the pass blocking snaps, and you only have a 3% pressure allowed, okay? Josh Myers allowed 5% pressure last year. So if people are going to say Drew Dalman isn't as good a pass blocker as Josh Myers, I don't know where they're getting their information from there. Again, this was last year's numbers. If you want to go out over the course of his career, maybe it works out that way. But when you look at the run block grade, here's the big differentiator, right? Like 3% to 5% pressure. I don't think there's anybody in the chat that would say, I'd rather have the 5% than the 3%, right? But when you look at them, that's fairly close, 2% difference. Essentially what that means is he's given up 2 more pressures every 100 pass snaps than Drew Dalman. That's not like a huge difference, although it is a difference. But when you look at the run block grade of 80.5 for Drew Dalman, and then you look at Josh Myers at 50.9, this isn't even close. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we think. It's how does Goody see it? I'm kind of with I think it's Drew that's been kind of talking about this, and several other people on Twitter. If they can get Josh Myers on a really, really team-friendly deal, I'm okay with it. That doesn't mean you still don't draft the center. It doesn't mean you don't try to let Jacob Monk beat him out. There's value there with Josh Myers, especially the other thing we got to throw in is the season he had last year. Like the year he had in general, losing his father, dealing with stuff like that throughout the year, man, that's tough. And for him to not miss, to the best of my knowledge, he didn't miss a damn game, right, Tim, other than with the Detroit game that he missed because I think he left in that game, though, right?
He left early in that game. Yep.
So he's pretty much available every game to the best of my knowledge.
Super. I want to use the word durable. I think he's borderline like a durable guy, or at least a dude that, we talked about willingness to play through injuries. He had, I believe, wrist or thumb, something with a hand. He's had ankles, knees, and yeah, I mean, you can't make the club in the tub, right? The guy lays it out and wants to play. We got to talk about the fact that, he's loved in that locker room. Josh is a stellar teammate.
It's a big thing.
Guys really love playing with him. He's got his own kind of style of leadership. And, you also have to remember the chemistry with Jordan Love. This is not snap the freaking ball Josh anymore. That guy is long gone. He's made steps in the right direction. He's not quite where we would like our center to be at, but I'm with you, Clay. I think if he's not willing to be super greedy and he takes a team-friendly deal, I don't think it hurts us by keeping him around at all. And then you kind of take the same mentality we had with Jaire, right? Whether Jaire's here or not next year, we got to get some corners. We need some depth, right? And you would say the same thing at center, whether Josh is here or not. Probably need to go find a center or at least somebody that can play the interior O-line for sure.
Yeah, and the only reason I would kind of take a step back from that kind of stance and go, I don't see them having both, is because you drafted Jacob Monk. Like to carry 3 centers would be crazy. Because again, we haven't seen Jacob Monk really contribute at guard, right? We have Josh Myers might be able to. He might be a better guard than a center. Who knows? We've never seen that. Typically, with centers, you don't have the size, you don't have the reach that you want to play other positions. That ain't a problem with Josh. Josh is a big old boy, 6'5". Yep. I mean, yeah. So, if you told me, all right, Clayton, here's the plan. We're going to see if Josh Myers will come back on $3 million or less per year. I'm totally okay with that. He knows the system. He can play center in a pinch. He can be that solid backup center. And you go get Drew Dowman for what the market value is suggesting at $6.8 million per. Now you got less than $10 million tied up in the center position. And you got one of the you feel a lot better about having Josh Myers as your backup center than if it was just Jacob Monk. Now here's the thing too: if Jacob Monk has passed Josh Myers now, where they think, okay, or at least he's equal, then you have the same approach, but you let Josh Myers walk. You got Jacob Monk as that solid backup. You go get someone like Drew Dowman, or you draft a Gray Zabel if he falls to the right spot. I'm not as high on Gray Zabel as most people are. I'm pretty high on him. Don't get me wrong. Like if I were to find him here on the board, where do we have him at? I know he's toward the top. We've got him in the 51 spot or 52 spot. Some people, Tim, they've got that cat. Now he's creeping up in the top 20. And I'm too drunk to taste that chicken. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take a little while for me to get, and he may end up being a great player and well worth the pick. It's just right now, based off the information I'm looking at, I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant to dive in there. Daniel Jeremiah does not have him. Actually, he does. He has him at 48. Okay, so again, we've got him at 52. He's much closer to where we got him than most people do. The 33rd team has him at 89, or at least pre-Senior Bowl they had him at 89, and then Dane Brugler has him at 38. So there's nothing on our board that says, yep, he needs to be in the top 20 or even, maybe even a first round pick. But the versatility is definitely going to come into play. There's no doubt. So if you were to go keep Jacob Monk, right, and he's your backup center, and you go get Drew Dowman, and then let's say you draft another offensive lineman. We were just talking about the kid, who was it again? Jacob Bayer, right?
Yep.
If you draft him, he's a true center. He's limited on what you do there. But if you do go get Gray Zabel, then you've got a guy, like you said, that's got added value where he can kick around the offensive line a little bit. And again,
right.
If you go Drew Dowman, you feel really good about the center position. If you got Drew Dowman starting center, Jacob Monk backup, Gray Zabel playing, swing guard, swing tackle, and he can play center and compete with Jacob Monk as that backup center. That's a pretty good spot.
That's what I see in Gray Zabel, is almost like the potential to be another, like a Big E or like a Zach Tom, a guy that really great at this position, really good at this position, but bottom line can play anywhere on that line for you in a pinch. That versatility will help you for sure.
Yeah. Emilio in the chat. The answer to your problems, ... Travis Glover.
He was the best guy around.
You notice how Tim said he was the best guy around. He might not be here much longer, Emilio. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I like how Marta pointed out too, man. The arms are unreal, right?
Yeah, make sure you bring those with you if you come to Green Bay. Holy cow.
Yeah, he's got some guns on him for sure, man.
It looks like he's got two bald guys in a headlock there.
Brambo says, quote, "I'm too drunk to taste that chicken." LMAO. Been a member for 3 months. Appreciate you, Brambo. You're the man. Let's see here what Deadfish has got for us. Per Walters, okay. Height 6'3", weight 310, projected 40 time 5.30, projected 2025 4 to 6.2, 725. Not sure what the heck that is. Bayer started at center for 2 seasons at Lamar before manning the middle of the line for, I guess he's got another one, Arkansas State. So again, who was it again? So he was at Lamar. Lamar, he said, at Lamar. So Lamar must be a smaller school. So then he went to Arkansas State. Bayer is a competitor, but has a backup caliber skill set for the NFL. That's interesting because when you look at the PFF grades, it would suggest he's one of the best centers in the country. But Lamar and Arkansas State. Thank you for the information there, Deadfish. Appreciate that, buddy. That's when the rest of the information comes in on him. That's when he will drop on our board. But as it sits right now, again, we've got him fairly high. And I was wrong. Jonah Monheim is in the 88 spot, Tim. He's listed as a center and a guard from USC. He was at the Senior Bowl as well. He's slightly higher than Jacob. Where's he at again? Jacob Bayer, who is in the 113 spot. If Daniel Jeremiah doesn't have him in the top 150, then he'll get a 150 tag on him, most likely. That'll bring him down significantly. If the 33rd team doesn't have, they'll have an actual ranking on him. They always go into the 300s. So if he pops up at 250 or something, that's going to drop him down significantly. He may end up down around 200, Jacob Bayer, when it's all said and done. But we'll see how it shakes out for sure. That's what he's saying. Okay, 4 to 6 round projection. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it for Bayer. That makes sense. Thank you so much for that information, Deadfish. You are the man. Prince says Lamar specializes in developing javelin throwers. I'm not sure if that's true. Hopefully that's not a derogatory remark, and I'm just too stupid to realize it. So we'll just keep it moving along here. We might have just got canceled, Tim. I didn't even know it. I can't keep up with what's offensive nowadays, to be honest with
you. Yeah, I don't even bother trying.
So there you go. There's the Drew Dowman, Josh Myers talk. It's going to be interesting to see what we end up with there. And we already covered Josh, so we're good there. You want to talk about Josh one more time, Tim, before we wrap up?
Yeah.
He was the best guy around.
There, that's all I got to say.
That's it for silence. Ben Holden says,
he's a fan of the show. Ja's out there listening right now.
Absolutely. He listens every day, man. You kidding me? Ben Holden says from left to right, offensive line, Rasheed Walker, Jordan Morgan, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, or Walker. Okay. When you say Walker there, I'm not sure what you mean there. To me, there's no reason to think Rasheed Walker. Oh, he's saying or.
We're going left to right on the line.
Got it. Okay, so that's his first. He said Rasheed Walker, Jordan Morgan, Elton Jenkins at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, Zach Tom at right tackle, or go Rasheed Walker left tackle, Elton Jenkins left guard, Zach Tom center, Sean Ryan right guard, Jordan Morgan right tackle, or you can go Walker, Jenkins, Monk, Ryan, Tom. Now, listen, people are going to scoff at that whole Tom at right tackle. I want to hit Tom out for a minute. Last summer, Rob Demoski said someone within the building told him that the center of the future is already in the building, okay? And we immediately start thinking, I would rather leave Tom at right tackle and move Elton to center if that's the case. It could, in a perfect world, Jacob Monk would just step up and play all-pro ball at center. That would be absolutely awesome. Probably not going to happen at this point. But in that article from Rob that I tweeted out earlier, he specifically mentioned Zach Tom potentially kicking the center. He didn't say it's going to happen. He's just saying. So here's what I'm trying to piece together for you. Last summer when he made that statement, he didn't specify who he was talking about. They didn't even specify. But now in this article, he specifically mentions Zach Tom. Could he kick the center? I'm just saying, if you're reading between the lines, keep an eye on that. Don't be surprised if we look up. They draft another offensive lineman, maybe somebody like Gray Zabel who's got tackle experience. All of a sudden, Tom is an all-pro center. Because the quote, Tim, that went with that, I'm pretty sure I got this right. It was Pro Bowl caliber tackle. This is Zach Tom. Pro Bowl caliber tackle, all-pro guard, Hall of Fame center is what that person said.
The question is, why the hell hasn't Zach Tom been playing center the last two seasons?
And here's the only thing I got. Tackle is more valuable to the Packers than center. And that's where I kind of, at right tackle, I should say. I'm not committed enough, to my opinion, Tim, to say center is more important than right tackle with a right-handed quarterback. But damn, I'm this close, man.
Yeah.
Because you look at the other teams across the league, and it's like Jordan can make stuff work, stepping up and out, sliding around that pressure from the right tackle. He given up the third most pressures at the center position this year, according to PFF, and that's what Josh Myers did. That's a hard thing to handle when that pressure is right in your lap, So I don't know. What's your take on this? Which one would you choose out of these three? Let me ask you that.
Mean, on the surface, what looks honestly to me the most enticing would be, Walker left tackle, Jenkins left guard, Zach Tom at center, Sean Ryan right guard, and then Jordan Morgan being able to step in and play right tackle. I mean, we're trying to make Jordan Morgan a guard. I understand that's the project, but the kid played a lot of tackle in college, and maybe he could fit in on the right side. I'm coming around to the possibility of that first scenario. You go Walker, Morgan, Big E at center, Sean Ryan, and then Zach Tom stays where he is on the right side. I think that's a realistic possibility too. I think it's just going to come down to ultimately who they decide is going to be the center, and we'll kind of see how things plug and play after that. But I think all of these are in the realm of possibility, some more likely than others, but any one of these scenarios could happen.
Yeah. And that's where I put less value on left guard than I do center, and center and right tackle are they're neck and neck for me, right? So if you put Elton Jenkins, some would say Elton Jenkins is your best offensive lineman. I personally think Zach Tom is. But if you put Elton Jenkins as center, that fixes your center problem, and you leave Zach Tom at right tackle. And then the least important positions, in my opinion, on the offensive line are the guard positions. So Morgan and Ryan can play those guard positions. I feel like that gives you the best chance for success. But as you were just talking about, Walker, Jenkins, Tom, Ryan, Morgan. If Morgan proves he can play right tackle at a high level, damn, that looks good there.
That might give the Packers that last push that they need to feel comfortable moving Zach Tom to center. Yeah.
Completely agree. And again, what the question comes down to, Ben, and thank you for asking. This is a fantastic question. What it comes down to is, what do you put more value in, center or right tackle? That's really what it comes down to. And whatever that answer is, that's where Zach Tom needs to be playing, period, case closed. Now, some, again, put more value on right tackle. I completely understand that. Others put it on center. You guys know tier one of importance for me is blindside tackle. In our case, it'd be left tackle. That's the top priority, in my opinion. Like, if I were building this offensive line, I probably would have made the mistake of putting Tom at left tackle to shore that up. And Rasheed Walker never would have gotten an opportunity to prove, damn, this guy's a pretty good football player.
Right.
That would have been a mistake on my part if I was the GM or the coach setting that lineup. So you really got to give these guys an opportunity in camp to see where they fit in the best. I know this. If we don't make a significant move at center this offseason, if we don't go sign a Drew Dahman, if we don't go and draft a true center in the draft, right, or someone who can play high level of center, we think, and then we get to camp, we better be hearing Zach Tom at center or Elton Jenkins at center, or I'm going to get real nervous. Now, if that does happen, they do take that approach, and then we look up at week 8 or week 9 and we go, boy, this Jacob Monk kid's a real deal. We're in a really good spot salary cap-wise, because you're talking about 3 years on a rookie deal, a late rookie year. What was it? Late rookie deal with a 5th-round pick? Shoo-wee, man. That's another thing that comes into play. See how Jacob Monk, does in the offseason. But you can't wait around and just assume he's going to be able to take over that role unless you're truly committed to, okay, if Jacob Monk doesn't take that next step and take that starting center role, then we're going to kick Morgan to center. I personally believe, this is just my opinion, I think Tim probably disagrees, and that's okay. I don't think Jacob Monk would have played any worse than Josh Myers this year at center. That's just me, especially given all the personal stuff. But like you pointed out, his teammates chose him as their favorite teammate. Like, that was an award they gave out. This they love the dude, and that means something. It really does, man. Chemistry.
Yep. Absolutely.
Jaire Lee with the super chat says Will Anderson said Zach Tom is the best tackle. Yeah, remember that video we played? I'm glad you brought that up, Jaire. So true. And another thing that could fall through here is I'm reading his super chat, Tim. If you kick Tom to center and Jordan Morgan can't handle the tackle position, now you put a quarter in the merry-go-round. Everybody's shuffling around. They're trying to find the right fix, and that could be disastrous,
Yep.
Based off the information.
We'll have to hear Emilio talking about Travis Glover again,
I know this. I know this. If he doesn't work on the offensive line, don't be surprised if Emilio's talking about Travis Glover trimming down and playing tight end. Maybe he's going to get in the lineup. Jaire, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Emilio said, "Has Big E already won an All-Pro?" That's a great question.
I believe so. I think.
I'm going to say he has
one, right? At least once.
Let's see. Let me go to the old Google machine, and they may not even know the answer. Has Elton Jenkins, right? Jenkins ever won an All-Pro?
I believe so.
Let's see what we got here.
2022.
Did he actually? Let's see. So we got Elton Jenkins. It says on his Wikipedia page, 2-time Pro Bowler. He was on the all-rookie team. I'm not seeing anything in terms of all-pro, to be honest with you. Let's see here, career, No, if Wikipedia is up there, and you guys know, take that however you want. 2-time Pro Bowler in 2020 and 2022, and he was a PFWA all-rookie team in 2019. So I don't think he has an all-pro. If anyone else knows, yeah, there we go. Holmes says he didn't think it either. So I'm thinking, yeah, that he has not won an All-Pro there, Emilio. So
that's what I'm thinking of in 22 Pro Bowl. Second time you made the Pro Bowl. All right, that's crazy. No All-Pro for Big E. Wow.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that I disagree with that. Like, I think he's been a really good football player. I've never looked at Elton personally like that dude is top 3 at his position. I just personally never have. There's a lot of people that have. Top 10, absolutely. But when you say all-pro, you're saying top 2 or 3 at the position. Think of the great guards in the game, and does Elton deserve to be, ahead of them as an all-pro? That can be a little bit tough, So,
yep.
As Adam Block said, I think that's a fair assessment. He can improve. And he didn't have his best year last year, right? Ryan did a good job pointing that out on Packernet podcast this year. Like, hey, Elton's not playing like great ball, A
lot of uncharacteristic penalties from him too this past season. A lot of times just things that we're not used to seeing from him.
And I think there's something to be said for that too, though, Tim. Remember the audio, the soundbite we played from Josh Jacobs last night? What did they do? They played a lot more duo.
Yep.
Right. So maybe he's trying to get used to that as opposed to in the past. He played his best football as we were playing that strictly zone scheme.
Yep.
And listen, duo is very similar to zone, guys. Don't think that duo is a stark, difference from zone. It's not. It's very, very similar. There's just double teams involved and vertical power, involved there as well. So, and as Biz says here too, Tim, he was definitely missed against the Eagles. There ain't no doubt about that. When E went out of that game, boy, that offensive line fell apart. So there's something to be said there. But all right. And Holmes mentioned his game at center was brutal. It was, but you got to keep in mind, when was the last time that Elton Jenkins practiced center? Right? He was kind of thrown at. Now, if you'll rewind, remember before, Tim, there was another game. I don't think it was this season. It might have been the previous season. I think it was Aaron's last year, maybe. I can't remember. Zach Tom. Somebody got hurt, and Zach Tom moved from tackle to center. Remember that? When that happened, I specifically remember it. Damn, the offensive line got much better with Zach Tom at center as opposed to Josh Myers. So I'm telling you, is that whole talk that Zach Tom could be a Hall of Fame center, I think that's a real thing. Because when that happened, they didn't miss a beat, Yep. And again, Holmes, you got to take into consideration, when was the last time he practiced at center, Elton? It was, Tim, you were at that game. It was piss pouring in the rain, right?
Yep.
So,
and I've always said, I've always preferred Elton right where he is. Keep him at left guard. I think he's even publicly made that comment that he's most comfortable at left guard. He'd prefer to play left guard. So I think, if we're gonna move anyone, maybe it is Zach Tom to center. But that, there's so many other variables. It's got to be tough enough for Goody to try and figure out how to put this squad together, and then LaFleur and the staff trying to figure out who's playing, where the chess pieces are going to go on that line. And we as fans, I think, need to be a little bit more patient because they're going to move some guys around. It's going to take time to find that ideal lineup, So I don't want to hear anyone calling anybody a bust, 2 weeks into the preseason,
Drives me great. Guys, you can't, that's the thing too. The bust talk after one season, like you can't, you can say that. You're free to say whatever you want to say, but as a friend, please listen to me. You sound like a moron when you call someone a bust after one season. Like there's been, you know how many players in the league went on to be, all-timers after they go look
We're
at.
We're saying the same thing about Devontae after his first year.
Bingo. That's a recent one. And if you want to go back in time and find one, a little deeper in the past, right? Donald Driver would have been considered a bust. Well, he's a 7th round pick. Doesn't matter. He couldn't sniff the field. Like he was on the cusp of being cut. He had to beg for them to keep him on the roster. So there's some people that probably, you just wasted a 7th round pick on this kid. He's a bust. Let me go back a little bit further. Think about, let's go way back. Go look at Bart Starr, his first few years in the league. And I know we're going way back to the 60s. You know how many people probably looked at Bart Starr as an absolute bust? And he was a late round pick. And then he goes on to be one of the all-time greats with, 5 championships? Like, you got to just –
Niners fans weren't happy with Jerry Rice that first year.
Oh, dude, there's
and he's the GOAT, the absolute GOAT.
All kinds of players that you could put into that category, man. You could – Scott Wells.
Oh, yeah, I remember Scott Wells.
I think they cut him. I want to say they cut him and put him on a practice. And it was just like, oh, that was a wasted pick. And I love hearing, I think it wasn't Brian, but it was Mark Tauscher telling that story. Mark Tauscher talking about how Scott Wells, he said, I remember when I think they moved him to the practice squad or cut him or something, but he was still in the facility. He said, look, that dude wouldn't even hardly talk. The look in his eye was like, oh, they done screwed up. They're about to. And then he goes out and practice, starts kicking people's asses, right? Next thing you know, Scott Wells anchors that Super Bowl team. So you just gotta slow down, man. You gotta slow down and give it a year or two because it takes a little bit of time. Fred McFarlane says
when you go in knowing you're trying to draft and develop a guy, right? Everybody's development is different. Some guys get it really quick. Look at Edgerrin Cooper. He developed pretty quickly once he saw the field. But not everybody works that way. Some guys, it takes them a year to year 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you get into that 3rd year, you look at guys that are looking, to get their first kind of big contract in the NFL. If they haven't taken those strides, now you can call them a bust, I would think, right? You got 3 seasons under your belt. You haven't really moved up the rungs at all. I think that'd be fair, but we just got to be more patient as a fan base, I think.
Yeah, I got a poll question for tonight we're going to hit on. We're going to do it on the YouTube stream. If you guys will remind me, if it ain't up when we start, remind me. It's going to be, would you be okay with moving Zach Tom to center? And I want to see how many people would be on board with that. I'm not going to list any other details other than yes or no, move Zach Tom to center and see what people say. Fred McFarlane, we agree with this one. He says, I'm a bust, is what he says. So, but you're our bust, Fred. All right, and that's all that matters. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're going to get out of here. Tim, you got anything else, man?
I know it's a football pod, but happy birthday to the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. I don't want to hear you young kids talking about anyone else. Happy birthday to the other GOAT.
Now, listen, Tim, we got a lot of Wisconsin natives here, right? And you were one. I love the fact that you're willing to say Jordan was the GOAT.
Jordan was the GOAT, man.
Because we hate Chicago, right? We love rooting against Chicago sports. But, man, listen, I grew up watching Jordan. Jordan, that's when I was a basketball fan. I cannot stand basketball now. Like, they had to drag me into that Coliseum, into Rupp Arena the other day, I should say, to watch Kentucky play. And it was fun, don't get me wrong. But, man, I grew up in that era with Jordan and those guys. I mean, Jordan, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, trying to think of some of the big body guys. Charles Oakley, remember?
Oh
Charles
my gosh.
Oakley. Dennis Rodman picking fights and not finishing them. Absolutely. I remember Bill Lambier. Oh my God. Bill Lambier was a terror, dude. Oh
yeah.
Isaiah Thomas.
Bill Lambier could have played football for sure.
Oh, no doubt. Isaiah Thomas, one of the toughest pound for pound dudes on the face of the planet. He was one that would go toe to toe with these big guys. But yeah, Jordan, I watched LeBron's entire career. I remember when LeBron came out of high school, and I was like, I told my brother, I was living in Knoxville, I'm like, hey, we got to watch this kid. They're going to have his high school game televised tonight. And I watched him like, dang, this dude is the real deal. Like, he is unbelievable. Never at any point during LeBron's career did I go, yeah, he's better than Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, man. Jordan.
Your only argument would be Kobe.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You know, if you want to put up an argument, it's probably, Kobe.
I agree. That's probably the closest we've seen. And I know the stats and the longevity and everything with LeBron. I get it. You can draw the stats out and prove he's better than Jordan or prove that he's better than Kobe. I'm telling you right now, man, Kobe had that apex predator that Jordan had too. Jordan was that dude that bet against me. Yeah, I want to say, I can't remember what it was. They were in a casino. No, probably wasn't a casino when he was playing days. He was somewhere, and someone told him the night before a championship game, hey, good luck out there tomorrow. And it was a nice gesture, like, hey, good luck. Hope you have a good game. And Jordan turned around to those guys and said, that's all I effing needed. Like, he took everything, much like Tom Brady, and used it as motivation, right? So, anyway, it's not a basketball pod, but I'm glad you brought that up, though, Tim, for sure.
Yep.
Because those are the good old days. Hey, guys, you can go back and watch these games. Go to YouTube, type it in.
Yeah, man.
You and tell me the game wasn't different. You didn't have people flopping. If you flopped on the court from 85 to 95, your ass would have been laughed out of the league. Period.
Yep.
Case closed.
Yep. And there were no such things as easy buckets in the playoffs.
No.
You come near that basket, you're getting hit in the lane for sure.
Yeah. And you brought up Kobe. Like, I don't ever remember a time that Kobe flopped. Not once.
No.
Never. There's too much pride involved. Too much pride. And that's why I love dogging on Pat Mahomes right now. And Caleb Williams, 1 year in the league, boy, he flopped his ass off last year. Flailing those arms around. I'm done with you, dude. I'm done. We didn't see Jordan flop one time. He may throw his arms up like, where's the flag? There ain't nothing wrong with that. So when you try to act like somebody shoved you down, get away from me with that crap, man. So anyway. All right, that's it, guys. We'll get your basketball talk in. I'm sure we lost 4 subs.
Sorry about that. It was on the brain,
It's all good, dude. It's all good. It's worth mentioning. So, Tim, thank you for your time, man. We'll see you guys tonight, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We will dive into that short list of free agents, potential free agents for the Packers and the cap, the market value attached there as well. Yeah, the chat was just on fire. We didn't get to it. I'm totally cool with it. Special shout out to Jarrell Lee for the super chats. Thank you so much, buddy. You are the man. And Brambo for being a member here 3 months on YouTube. So we'll see you guys tonight. Everybody have a great day. Stay warm out there. We'll talk to you.
There we go. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.